In this episode of What's Going On with Shipping, it's the March 26th update of the grounding of the motor vessel Ever Forward. I'm your host, Salvor, and welcome to this episode of What's Going On with Shipping. So a quick update on motor vessel Ever Forward. I did an hour-long discussion yesterday, live stream, and it was great, but it's a long video and not everyone's going to watch it. So I thought I'd do a quick little tightening up, talk about the latest on Ever Forward so that everybody will know. If you're new to the channel, take a moment, please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you'll be alerted about new videos as they come out. So let's go ahead and hop to the update. So this is the current position of motor vessel Ever Forward, and you'll see her still grounded as of today. Zoom in here a little bit. As a matter of fact, we're getting a ship passage going on right now. So the Bari Jetta, which is a roll-on, roll-off ship, coming past her right now, speed 9 knots. And that seems to be what we've been seeing in the channel right there, is them holding the speed down to about 9 knots. Ever Forward is oriented with her bow right here and her stern right about here, because you see how close the Bari Jetta gets to her right there. Here is the dredge Oyster Bay. Oyster Bay has been dredging off the bow of the vessel. We've seen her consistently dredging off the bow of the vessel. She has a scoop on her, a clamshell dredge, able to pick up about 15 cubic yards of material, and barges where she's doing it. So she's clearing off the area around the bow of the vessel right here. Then meanwhile, off the stern of the vessel, we'll see, here she is, the Dale Piatt. Dale Piatt came out about midnight last night. She had gone into Baltimore from my sources. She cracked shivs of one of her major pulleys right here. So the shivs are the round things inside that the wires ride on. And because of just the force and the use, they will periodically crack. And that's exactly what we heard happen with the Dale Piatt. Not unusual. They're doing 24/7 dredge operations. So we're going to see that happen from time to time. She's there with several other vessels there, Cape Elizabeth, port tenders. So port tenders are going to be running out personnel back and forth. And then what we're seeing are tugboats come out here. John Joseph, one of those tugs, will be out there. And what the tugboats are doing are bringing barges out to load. And then over here, Charles James, another tugboat coming in, same thing, probably bringing out tugs and barges, bringing out barges right now. And then the Megan Ann, one of these barges. So we've seen them coming out quite regularly. So what we think is happening, so they're dredging right around the bow, and we talked about this. This is Ever Forward's approximate position. She's about a ship's length stern from the channel, probably a little bit more. This is a bit distorted. AIS is not always exactly accurate. So what we know is Oyster Bay has been dredging. Initially, she was off the port side bow, and she has shifted over around the bow continually. So what this is telling me is they're planning to pull the stern of the vessel out into the channel, and they will pivot on the bow. Now, obviously, the bow, since she is the furthest away from the channel, will be in the shallowest water. So they're working on that. Meanwhile, Dale Piatt is working here around the stern of the vessel. Now, again, Dale Piatt just came back in. I've been working around the vessel trying to clear the area. And what they're going to need to do is pull on the stern and rotate her counterclockwise, excuse me. So her stern is in here in deep water. That frees the propeller. It frees the sea chest, the water intakes on the side of the vessel. And then what they can do is, using large tugs, available tugs, pull on the vessel, you put the engine full of stern and try to pull her off into the deep channel. That seems to be the way that this dredging operation is unfolding right now. So I zoomed out here just a little bit to give you a better image here of what's going on. So the blinking area right there, that is Ever Forward, just north of the bridge. This is the Bay Bridge in Annapolis. Poplar Island, where they're bringing the dredged material, this is her right down here. You can see the tug Maverick down here. This is Poplar Island. I did the track. It's about 22 miles. So 22 miles southbound under the Bay Bridge, past the anchored bulk vessels waiting to get into Baltimore. They're always right here, right off of Annapolis. And then down here to Poplar Island. Great couple of images provided by William Doyle, the CEO of the Port of Baltimore. This is Poplar Island. And what you can see them is bringing in the spoil in these barges. And what there is there's a dredge right there, or a suction dredge. And what they're doing is suctioning out, mixing with water, the material here in the barge, and then with this hose, injecting it ashore. You'll see a little better picture here. There you go. They'll mix it with water, turn it into kind of a slurry. And then what they're doing is pumping it ashore. They've got this kind of breakwater area, kind of almost like a mold, and they're pumping in here to kind of refill the island with those spoils. Really interesting. I think it's a really interesting process they're doing. Not exactly sure about the environmental issues associated with that, but that's what they're doing with the material. And what this means is, best estimates I have from people involved in the operation, it takes about these barges hold anywhere from 4 to 6,000 cubic yards of material. Again, Oyster Bay can lift 15 cubic yards, Dale Pyatt 60 cubic yards. It takes Pyatt about 4 to 6 hours to fill up these barges. It takes Oyster Bay about 5 to 7 hours. 21 miles, 21, 22 miles down here. And usually there's enough barges right now so that when a barge is pulled away, there may be at most an hour slack until the next barge comes back to load. So they're moving them pretty quick. It's about a 5 to 8 hour round trip down to Poplar Island to offload and turn everything around and bring those barges back. According to my sources, this dredging operation started on March 20th. They assumed anywhere from 10 to 14 days before they'll be ready to move this vessel. So we're talking about, we're talking about the middle of next week at the earliest that they'll be able to move it. One of the things that I've been watching and seeing is, are the larger tugs of Donjon Marine going to be coming down here? This is the list of vessels from Donjon Marine. Some of them are in operation here, being used, the Thomas D. Whitty, for example. But the ones I'm really watching are the American Enterprise and American Salvor. American Enterprise is just now sailing out of New York Harbor, but it doesn't have a destination. It's listless New York City right now. She's a larger tug, a little bit more horsepower than typical tugs. Her sister ship, the Salvor, is still sitting at the berth in Elizabeth City. She has not moved yet. And so one of the things that I did, and I think it's a fairly important thing, is I was able to but I got an email from a reporter in the Netherlands, and I mentioned this in the live stream. The CEO of Boskalis, which is the parent company of Smit, who's doing the salvage here is Donjon Smit. It's kind of a unified company entity. The CEO of Boskalis noted a couple of key things. One of the things he noted, number one, was the speed of Everforward when she went aground, almost 15 knots. Watching the AIS track, looking at the breakdown done by marine traffic, it looked like she was doing anywhere from 12 to 13 knots, but he mentioned 15 knots. That gives a grounding force of 15 to 20,000 metric tons. And as I mentioned to you in the past, a normal harbor tug can pull about 60 metric tons of bollard pull. That's 333 tugs you would need. Obviously, you won't need that much if you're dredging and getting material out. And I think that's one of the key things to pivot the bow or pivot on the bow, get the stern into deep water, and then use the ship's engines to pull it back. He also talked about the fact that he didn't think there was sufficient dredging capability and tugs in the area. That's why I think the larger salvage tugs, the Atlantic Enterprise and Atlantic Salvor, watching them is really going to be key here for what happens next. And then obviously you'll need smaller tugs there when the situation progresses. One last thing I want to take note of is the amount of information we're getting on this situation. So this is update number 5 provided by Evergreen Line. Basically, it says the same thing as all the previous updates said, with really no new information whatsoever. And this is where I want to take a moment and talk about this. I got an email from a retired senior Coast Guard officer who is absolutely shocked that, and this is an officer who provided his resume to me, his vita, and impressive beyond a doubt. And he's really shocked that the U.S. Coast Guard is not doing daily, if not twice daily, briefings on this. It's a major event. Granted, the ship's not in the channel. It's nowhere near the scope and scale of Ever Given. But if you had a highway, a rail, an aviation issue like this, you would have nonstop reports and updates. And we're getting nothing from literally the Coast Guard, who has been designated as the lead agency about them. Yeah, they're answering queries and we're getting answers from commanders and petty officers, but no briefs at all. I mean, what I just gave you on the plan on the dredging is what I think they're doing based on people I'm talking to, but that hasn't been announced by anybody. Why not? I mean, I don't understand why we're not getting the information put out here by Evergreen, by Donjon Smith, by the Coast Guard, who should be talking to everybody involved and briefing people about them. Understand, there is a lot of potential for this to go badly. If this ship rolls, you're going to have a massive problem in Chesapeake Bay. And let's be clear, that's a potential. If anybody tells you it's not a potential, they're lying to you right now. Any salvage operation that's involving a fully grounded vessel that is way above its draft marks, you have the potential for disaster. Now, is it likely? Probably not. I mean, they're doing a great systematic salvage job. But if it does happen, people are going to be pointing fingers at, why weren't you talking about this? Why weren't you briefing us about this? Why were you not telling us the situation as it was unfolding? And again, I think there are issues that should be talked about. Containment booms. Again, are we going to take fuel off this vessel? Are we going to have to take containers off? They take containers off. Let's be clear. That this becomes weeks of salvage at this point, because that is a huge endeavor. Taking fuel off makes the most sense. It's heavy and it's easy to get off. But again, where's the containment boom? Where are containment drapes to keep the silt from moving around the area? Got some winds today. There's some winds in the area, creating a little bit of chop out there. What's that doing to the vessel? Are we getting those updates? Again, there's sounding tanks every 4 hours to do this. But again, should something happen out there, the time to get containment booms, or even the anchors you hook the containment booms on, takes time. Put those containment anchor booms out there so you can bring the booms out and hook them up. Coast Guard should be the lead agency in this, and they should be bringing in and answering questions by the media, by everybody involved in this area. This is Chesapeake Bay. This is taking place literally just several hundred miles, the capital of the country in Washington, D.C. Where's the Maritime Administration? They're in, they oversee shipping in domestic waters. Where's all the major agencies right here? I don't know what else you need to highlight the importance of this situation. Again, it's not ever given. It's not blocking world trade, but understand the salvage of this vessel could conceivably block the channel for a major U.S. port in the case of Baltimore when the salvage takes place. And if this vessel does suffer a crack and start leaking fuel oil, or suffer a spill of containers, or the vessel rolls and potentially blocks the channel, or just becomes a marine hazard like Golden Ray was in Brunswick, Georgia, then everyone's going to be asking, why was there not more information on this? And why do we not know more about the potential danger of this? All right. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, be sure to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, share it across social media. And if you can, become a Patreon. If you become a patron of this channel, you contribute to this channel. And one of the things I want to highlight for my patrons right now is the absolute clear image you're getting right now, because my new camera arrived. I had a new camera, but I didn't like the digital quality. I think the backdrop gave it way too much data for it to process, and therefore it wasn't getting the resolution. And again, I like my backdrop. So I went for a better quality camera, a little higher resolution, and you can see this a little bit better, which I apologize right now for that. So if you enjoyed the video, please, again, do all those things. And if not, I will be providing updates as we get more information. And again, look for that video tomorrow on the evolution of container ships into the behemoths that we're seeing right now, from ever forward to ever given. Till our next episode, Sal, signing off.